because Google India does not make a much research in the case of an Indian language at that time. I mentioned about that year more or less in the case of 2012, before 2012. Okay. Okay. So in case of that, why I mentioned about this case, and this creates a problem. This creates an easiness in the case of what it's a speech to text. So we need to learn some characters, character by character. Then it's very easy to what in the case of speech to text. While in the case, and also in the case of vice versa, we can say that what we can find easy in manner. And but the problem is only in the case of what sometimes that that content letters. For the case of the content letters, we need to train what much more characters. We need to consider each character as well as each symbol as a separate character. So it's an issue. And also in case of the dialects of different people, in case of Kerala, it is very different. We can say that the pronunciation has somewhat difference. Sometimes the people maybe say about the harsha. Some of the people may say it says fasha. So it's another character. Fa. Okay. So like that, so many issues are there, and we'll not be able to case of the. So we need to create a prototype as well as the rules for the phonemes, frequency, as well as the pronunciation, and the case of an Indian language. And this is more or less the same in the case of other languages like what Tamil, as well as in the case of the Kannada, as well as Telugu, because all these languages, also in the case of Sinhala, also, and because why we can say that like that means all these languages are emerging from that single script called Brahmi script with respect to Devanagari, and from there these different structures are erased. Not from that, we cannot say that the Malayalam is generated from Tamil or some other Kannada or something else. Okay, and in case of that natural language processing, and differently mainly we are concerned in the case of the structure of the words, the phrases, and its order is important. In the case of ma'am has already mentioned that in case of while we are comparing with the English as well as in the case of Indian language, it has much difference. So let me come to that point while we are explaining about the case of the different algorithm issues, as well as which are the algorithms is more suitable for the case of both English as well as in case of Indian languages. And come to the point of the semantics, we need to find what the relationship as well as meaning among the words, or that understanding the model. Okay. In case of the dialogue management, we need to understand the discourse of the interesting history as well as the world knowledge with respect to that particular topic, as well as that maybe we need bilingual dictionary to solve these problems. Okay, fine. Fine. I think it's clear for you. And so in case of an Indian diversity or an Indian context, we have so many challenges with respect to the NLP. And one of the challenges is with respect to that ambiguity. I think all of you may familiar with this case, and the ambiguity of the complexity at various levels. We often have encountered a lot of complexity while learning the language basics. Many confusing aspects, such that what they look at the long as well as required practice to be on that the skill. Okay. And it is maybe in terms of that ambiguities in terms of what words as well as semantics as well as syntax as well as phonology as well as pronunciation and tonality and emotions. All these are associated with this case. And also you can say that wait. Lost that connection. Okay. Not only from this point of view, we can say that what it's an tuning as per the emotions. Many times the critical that the algorithms understand the emotional weights and adapt accordingly. And this may be may make problems in the case of what the virtual assistants problem, and this will require but a special focus on the special keywords to recognize and include the emotions style. And the case of an sometimes in metaphors as well as idioms, it creates another problem. And also that anaphora as well as cataphora problems there. And also in the case of the lack of the proper documentation, even though these are the challenges with respect to that Indian diversity, we can say that and other problems, other issues may be there with respect to that lack of let's say that corpus as well as that's maybe the issues, and it has to be yet to be solved. And we can, when we compare with the last 5 years or the last 10 years, we can see that a lot of changes as well as a lot of dramatic changes is occur in the case of that creation of the data set. So we have the standardized data set is nowadays available for us. Little bit comparison in the case of, or in the case of the small programs with respect to that machine translation as well as in the case of that other machine, so the natural language processing applications. Okay. And we can, if you are going to find that language ambiguity as well as the complexity, we can say that it's an example with respect to that Hindi word called as acha. So it has a great or nice meaning. Or same word in the case of acha means what's really. And kya baat hai? It's an awesome, or the kya baat hai means what is the matter. So a highly complex task to resolve these kinds of what sometimes we have what some ambiguous meaning to be there. And also in the case of the translation work around, we need to find what this kind of corpus as well as this kind of order to be maintained, or the structure of that sentence to be maintained. And a lot of work has been going in this case, and with respect to this natural language processing with respect to our Indian context. And come to the point, I can say that or by considering these factors, we can say that in these are the generic model for the language processing. And already, I think you are already familiar with this case while we are implementing this NLP using R as well as Python, or any kind of language can be used, or Java. It's widely applicable. And nowadays, another so many new languages maybe come to this kind of a field also be there. And in case of the generic architecture, we can say that that input or the raw text or the natural language, first of all, we need to make the tokens, or the tokenization is an important part. So if you are going to build a new library which is more suitable for that Indic scripts or Indic language, so we must provide what this kind of functionality or this kind of operation. So we will see that what are the new library modules nowadays available for this case of problems in case of with respect to that Indian language context. And case after that tokenization, in case of the machine transliterations, sometimes we may use that grapheme, phoneme, or hybrid methodologies may be used for finding that equivalent Unicode corresponding for the characters which is available in that another language. So that's the transliteration, and transliteration is entirely different from translation. And sometimes some of that after the tokenization, sometimes we need this kind of operators to be there with respect to but those issues are nowadays very less when we compare in the case of the compare the study with respect to that last 10 or 5 years. We can say that because in the case of the Google is widely adopted for your searches as well as in the case of communication purpose. We may use the Unicode fonts in case of that presentation logics. So this kind of machine transliteration is nowadays very less, because a lot of products with respect to that speech recognition, so which is available in the case of what proprietary tools as well as the libraries which is associated with Android phone or some other devices is very work in a pretty good manner. So we do not need what this machine translations. Or anyway, we need to what give that explanation. That's why I mentioned this machine transliterations over here. Okay. And after that, we can say that after the tokenization is very important. Sometimes we can what change this phase to what directly to that pre-processing stage. And here, definitely we are using what the stemming process as well as stop word removal as well as part of speech tracking. And here those has to be applied. And after that applications, definitely we need to get the words corresponding for what the feature extractions. In case of the 2007 or 2012 onwards, we have seen that what we are mapping those weights with respect to what some other characters, some other numerical values assigned. And nowadays it is changed to what the probability distribution values, or it is more or less close to that. More or less, not only more or less, we can say that it is more same as we have applied in the case of what the other languages like that English. That means those features generation has to be done in the case of the English languages. So TF and ID or other scenarios, or the lexical analysis, morphological analysis. So sometimes we need what this kind of more rule-based approaches. So we can generalize. Sometimes we can after the pre-processing we can classify that weights into that different approaches. That's one way is rule-based approaches for that lexical as well as the morphological analysis purpose. And so nowadays we are using the instead of that like morphological as well as the rule-based approaches, we are using what the feature extraction or based upon that deep learning purpose, or some weird embeddings to be there, or word to vec or globe is there. And as well as in the case of nowadays the latest algorithms widely applicable in the case of a BERT. And BERT has so many variations, all BERT, and as well as so many variations are there. And those in those algorithms we can see that what the word embeddings, and that word embeddings is stored as a vector representations. And while we are going through those kind of algorithms, we can say that what it is more or less works similar to what that image recognition purpose style. That means what we need to gather that or generate that features appropriate for that particular context. Okay, and those maybe it's related with the statistical approaches. And after that, we are applying what some neural based approaches to be incorporated with respect to that case. We can see that what, and after the case of that purpose, we can sometimes we made the post processing has to be done, and for the different task like this. So these are the wide applications in the case of what the NLP, more or less in the case of an Indian context, as well as in the case of normal way, this is machine translation and sentiment analysis and named entity recognition, and for resolution is there, and also in the case of what text summary is there, and a lot of evaluations metrics to be done for the case of that applications. Okay. So, and in case of the resources as well as the case of the tools with respect to that natural language processing, we can say that what it is based upon the language resources as well as enabling the resources. We can categorize that into language resource, enabling resource, as well as processing resources. And from the language resources, we can say that what it is maybe related with the lexical resources and mainly categorized into what corpora or corpus resources. And in case of the enabling resources, we can say that what it is enabled with respect to that different language script as well as different standards to be there. And in case of the processing resources, we can mention mention that the previous one, that's tokenizer, morphological analyzer, part of speech, as well as named entity recognition, parser, and weight sentence disambiguation or enough resolution can be categorized under the processing resources. So this is mainly normally we are using for the different product purpose. Okay. And while we are going through that lexical analysis, or we can say that this is the taxonomy regarding with the tools as well as the resources in an NLP. We can say that in the case of that lexical resources, it's again divided into what independent components, contents, as well as the connected contents. And with respect to that independent contents, we can say that it is consists of what? Word list, dictionary, named entity list, stop word list, and multi-word list, and it is associated for mainly. We can say that these things can be seen in the case of the pre-processing stages, as well as in the case of the feature extraction part. And came to the point of the connected contents, we can say that what those word lists as well as dictionaries or the named entity list is associated with the thesaurus as well as WordNet, and which is related, or a mapping functions to be needed for what the feature or the appropriate feature extraction method. And come to the point of the corpus resources, we can say that what the large number of corpus is needed or large number of words to be there for that purpose of what the training scenario. And from that training words, we can only understand that which one is more related to. Sometimes it may be used as a prefix, as well as sometimes it may be used as a suffix for a particular word, as well as how they are connected. And we need to sometimes we need what that annotations to be there, and also we need what that relationship to be mentioned as in a hierarchical manner, and the traversal can be either from the bottom up or the top down model. So the free bank or the parallel processing or the monolingual as well as multilingual aspects to be there. And sometimes we are maybe in case of the machine translation with respect to that Indian context or the Indian language, we are saying most probably we are using that bilingual dictionaries to be there. But the lack of bilingual dictionaries creates problems in the case of this kind of NLP in Indian knowledge. But we can say that in the case of there is a drastic changes is occurring in the last 5 years, I think so. Okay, and in come to the point of multilingual, we can say that what in case of the Indian languages, it's broadly different kinds of scripts can be seen. That is Roman, Devanagari, or the Gujarati, or as well as I already mentioned about the case of that taxonomy. Maybe it's generated from the single Brahmic script. Several other scripts to be there. Nowadays, we are not using that case also. That is, example is Grantha script or something else. Okay, and we need to make use of some standards. It's a post target as well as chunk set and semantic levels to be maintained for the purpose semantic analysis, as well as in the case of what the post track resource named entity or purpose. Okay, so this system resource is generally based upon that main application like that. We can already I mentioned about the machine translation as well as machine translation as well as semantic analysis and all those point of view. We are creating this this taxonomy. Okay, and so up to this we can say that what we understand that what some of the steps as well as the taxonomy related with that NLP in India, and sometimes the question may raise. We know that while we are going through that research purpose, we may refer what stand for that natural language processing, and of course in case of that project, if you are going to do the project, definitely the people is more interested to what take that library or take that steps which is available in case of that foreign languages like English. Mainly we are dealt with that English itself. Okay, so in case of an Indian language context, we can say that what these are the three top libraries nowadays available, are widely used for that purpose of different purpose or the different modules which is incorporated in the case of natural language project. You can see that I think some of you may be familiar with this case of anybody know that these libraries. Anybody heard about this case of INLTK or Indic NLP library? Yes, or no? Okay.
Yes.
Have you used that?
I go through go through that site, sir, for
Yeah.
downloading
I don't
data,
know
sir.
who is speaking. Kelly,
And
may I
myself
know that
India.
name of? Okay, okay, Cynthia,
Myself
ma'am. Okay,
India, sir.
yeah, yeah. Okay, fine. Uh, have you go through this, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Uh, but this is a drastic change which occurred in the case of that Indian language, because in 2011 or 12 or more, we can say that in the case of 2015 or up to 2015 itself, we cannot find what this kind of libraries there. And so so the lot of research is going with respect to that NLP in Indian context nowadays. So it's area, but so but the research is not mainly pure with respect to this kind of the post-Trager, also the morphological laser libraries. Instead, the people is more interested to create what the problems or the solution for the particular project or the product which is associated with the NLP. So the NLP has a little bit relevance with respect to what that's case, because the people have to understand only the input as well as the output. A lot of libraries or a lot of programming language concepts or the framework has supports this kind of uh, generalization scenario that with respect to what the TensorFlow, as well as with respect to uh, that PyTorch, as well as nowadays so many frameworks are there, and algorithms. The people does not know the what is going behind that algorithm or the mathematical concepts with respect to that. Okay, anyway, we not want to discuss that case. And other than that, Cynthia ma'am, anybody understand or anybody go through this any kind of this library? Yes or no? Only this question. If it is yes, okay.
No, sir. No, sir.
Is it no or yes? I cannot say that because of the problem is with respect to my network. No. Is it yes or no?
No, sir. I
No.
haven't
Okay,
been
fine,
to
fine.
India.
Fine, fine. So
No.
no problem. So now that standard NLP, Stanford NLP has changed the name called Stanza. Have you noticed that case? Okay, before that case, that in case of the INLTA, and this all these libraries can be used with respect to that language called Python. And what are the features with respect to that INLTK? We can see that what excuse me. This INLTK, which is available, or that it can handle that language called Hindi, Punjabi, Sanskrit, Gujarati, Kannada, Malayalam, Nepali, Odia, Marathi, Bengali, Tamil, and Urdu. And but in the case of the Indic NLP library, it can associate with the Assami, Sindhi, Sinhala, Sanskrit, Kongani, Kannada, Telugu, and of course some of that Malayalam things to be there. And also in the case of what many of the above language can be handled with respect to the standard NLP itself. And come to the point of that INLTK, I will show that how to implement these libraries and what are the issues can be seen in case of that case. That's my main intention in the case of this talk associated, because in case of that we know that what these are the steps in common to every talk. Okay, so as the case of what as the name suggests that INLTK, it's a library for that Indian language equivalent to what the popular NLTK Python language. I think you are familiar with the NLTK Python library. And this library is built with what the goal of providing the features of NLP applications developer will need. But that means what already mentioned that INLTK consists of what the tokenizations, word embeddings, and text completion and similarity sentence. All these things can be handled with respect to INLTK. And with respect to that Indic library, we can say that what some of that things to be added, that is normalization, transliterations, and phonetic analysis and syllabifications can be there. And you know about that stand for NLP as well as stanza. We can say that lemmatization, part of speech, and named entity recognition and dependency parsing to be there. Okay, and we can see that. So let me change this presentation to my screen. Is it any problem with respect to that while sharing that Chrome tab in case of that Zoom?
No, sir. It's visible.
Is it audible that while I'm sharing that file?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That means that Kaggle file. I
Yes.
speak about some.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. Then I can share that. So that's. Hello. Okay, fine. I think now it's only clear. Yeah. Is it audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Because come to the point. I'm not being seen. Not come to the point. This is the. You can see that why I'm choosing this Kaggle notebook instead of Collab because. First of all, I will show that the implementation with respect to that Kaggle, and then what is the problem, which is same code while we are executing the same problem in Collab. Okay, so you can create a Jupyter notebook pattern in case of Kaggle itself. You can already, I think already all of you know that case. Just need only a Google account or something else, and we can create what normal Jupyter notebook as we are creating in the case of Collab, as well as more or less the same in the case of what Kaggle itself. But this is consists of only what there is only a change in the case of the CPU time instead of what GPU as well as TPU are available in the case of Collab. Okay, so I'm not going to do that installations. So first of all, we need what install this library, which is associated with the PyTorch framework. And also it has some problem. That means what this INLTK toolkit is available to more or less it is available with respect to that 1.3.1 version with respect to that torch. You got the point? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Other versions, or we can say that what that nowadays the torch is higher version other than this 1.3.1. So it's not suitable for this INLTK. It's not work with the case. We can say that what this existing installation consists of what the torch is 1.7.0. So we need to change that 1.7.0 from that 1.70. We need to change to what 1.3.1 with the CPU facility. Then only we can this case, and not bother about this case of that pips dependency, because this with respect to that upgradation of that pips. Okay, not be bothered because, and after that we can say that what the other libraries which are associated in the case of what normal Python language, we can install this module using the pip command itself. And one scenario is that this INLTK is work above, I think so it's a Python 3.5 version. I think so. Okay, So, so this is successfully. You can see that. Okay, fine. This is quite good. Okay, so I will install this case, and after that installation, after that module installation, that means the pip installation of INLTK. I cannot do this with respect to that. That's as a hands-on, because so a lot of issues is with respect to this INLTK. Okay, some of that algorithms is work in a pretty good manner. Okay, that I will show that. So here from INLTK, you need to import the separate module for that different language. Like already we mentioned that what it support. It's widely support for what language. Sorry. It's support for the language Hindi, Punjabi, Sanskrit, Gujarati, Kannada, Malayalam, Nepali, and Odia, Marathi, Bengali, Tamil, and Urdu. Okay, and all these language for the purpose of what different kinds of models to be there, and for the collection of that diversity. Okay, based upon that different language, you can see that what we need to create a setup for that each and every model. If in the case of Hindi, we need to set up that this is a keyword which are using for that downloading that model, and we need to give the corresponding code in the sense that we can say that what that Hindi has associated with the HI, and Punjabi with respect to the code is PA, Sanskrit it is SA, Gujarati it's GU, Kannada it's KN, Malayalam for the Malayalam it's ML, Nepali it's NE, Odia or Marathi is MR, Bengali is BN, and Tamil is TA, and Urdu is UR. So these are the codes associated with the different languages. And after this one, we need to what from INLTK, you need to what import the setup, and after the setup, you have to give that setup HA. So now I am downloading that HA Hindi. You can see that what this is a script error, which is also we are calling this as a bug in the case of this kind of setups, and this creates a problem in the case of what collab also. That's why I'm switching from that collab, because I will say that you can see that after the runtime error and that even loop is already running. In case of that collab, in case of that this Kaggle, you can see that what anyway that exception is occurring. After that exceptions, this file is already downloading. Okay, and this is needed only in the case of the first time only. And while I'm switching from here to I'm showing that another screen with respect to that some stroke presenting. Is it now audible? Okay, fine. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you see the collab file?
Yes, sir.
Okay. After that collab file, we can see that installation of INLTK is be satisfied with respect to that case, and definitely we need to restart the kernel. No issues to be there, and this library is also be there. And while we are executing the problem or the statement called setup Hindi, you can see the runtime error is there, and this event is already running, and it is not allowed to download. In case of the collab, it is not allowed to download that model if that runtime error or that case of that exception is occurring. That's why I need to change from this scenario to Kaggle. Yes, you understand that why I am switching from collab to Kaggle? Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes.
and in case of the tokenization, so we can simply use this tokenization function, and for that purpose, I am giving that in Hindi text that's it's available, and just I'm copying that case and American Krantikari Youth and 1775 to 1783, and that's where it is there. And I need to tokenize the case. You had to use that only the function tokenize the Hindi text, and you need to create the language corresponding for that tokenization purpose. Okay, and for the purpose of downloading the Malayalam model, again we need to downloading the model. You have to wait for that case. Certain we can see that what changes is occurring over here. Okay, downloading the models. Last one is one more second. Let's be there. Already this. So this is a issue in the case of Ayyappa, and it is yet to be solved. Okay, and you can see that and we can use the tokenization purpose of that similar manner which we have done in the case here. The language has to be changed. Okay, so let me copy that case. Let me copy one text from Malayalam. So this is a new news. Okay, let me check. Don't need this ad there. So this is the latest news in Madhuruni. You can see that instead of this ML is to be there, and here we need to change that Hindi text instead of Hindi text we need to what Malayalam. So we can see that each character is it's divided like this. Okay, so this is it's quite an issue with respect to this case. Okay, but in the case of the previous example, you can see that it's more or less in a good manner. America, the space is to be there, and sometimes it may be this it is related like this, so that the character has some problems. And if I'm going to change that character instead of this one. Another word is there. So let me check this case. This is in a quite good manner, and this sentence is created with respect to that Google voice recognition. Okay, let me change the case. And one more scenario, that another function is available. This is we can find the similar sentence. We can use that library, analytical library, using the function called get similar sentence. We can say मैं आज बेहद खुश हूँ. We can find what the similarity or the similar 5 words associated with this case, and that's why we are mentioning about this case. 5 is there, and also that's Hindi is there. You can find that similar 5 words. मैं आज काफी खुश हूँ, मैं अब बहुत खुश हूँ, मैं आज अत्यधिक खुश हूँ, मैं आज बेहद खुश हूँ, मैं आज बहुत हाजिर हूँ. Okay, so this the same sentence, if you am giving this case in case of the Malayalam, you can see that what is the accuracy. You can see that case like this. ഞാൻ നന്നേ സന്തോഷവാനാണ്, നമ്മൾ വളരെ സന്തോഷവാനാണ്, ഇഡിപ്പസ് വളരെ സന്തോഷവാനാണ്, ഞാൻ വളരെ സന്തോഷവാനാണ്, ഞാൻ വളരെ അത്ഭുതവാനാണ്. This is because of that the corpus, or that the things which learned, or the database from the data that particular library is learned. So we need to change this scenario. More or less we can say that the ILTK is more focused on the case of that Hindi. First of all, it is Hindi language, then only what it is come to the point of what changing the case. And already we mentioned about that embedding vectors, or embedding characters, and you know that it is feature is generated and represented as a vector. So that's from that point of view, we can say that all the machine language as well, machine learning as well as in the case of natural language, we need what study about the more mathematics. Okay, rather than the linear algebra, we need to understand what other statistical patterns, as well as some more mathematical perspectives with respect to what the optimization to be there, to be needed for that case. Okay, before moving to that mathematics perspective, so come to the point of embedding vectors. In the previous scenario, in the case of the last 5 years ago, we can see that we are widely using that algorithm, so-called word-to-vec, normally for the sentiment analysis, as well as this kind of sentence finding the sentence similarities. So now it is changed to what later it changed to with respect to that another library or another function with respect to that glow, and now it is with respect to that embedding vectors. And these embedding vectors can be generated using this NLTK, so it's available there. You can see that the shape of the vectors and the type of that corresponding vectors with respect to that three characters, three words are there. So it is separated over here. First of all, first two characters over here, and the second array is from here to here. You can see that, and the third one is what with respect to this one, and the total size is 400. So they can see that what are the 400 rows to be there, or with respect to that vectors. Clear? And finding the similarity between the two sentences also to be there. And मुझे भोजन पसंद है, मैं ऐसा भोजन की सराहना करता हूँ जिसका स्वाद अच्छा है. So if you are going to compare that मुझे भोजन पसंद है as well as this sentence, we can see find the similarity is what more or less we can say that from the sentence structure itself we can understand the more similarity can be seen with respect to this. So that similarity can be found with respect to that 67% of accuracy. Okay, while in the case of what we are moving to that Malayalam, we can see that what എനിക്ക് ഭക്ഷണം ഇഷ്ടമാണ്, നല്ല രുചിയുള്ള ഭക്ഷണം ഞാൻ ഇഷ്ടപ്പെടുന്നു. So these two words is more or less related with the ഭക്ഷണം, but we only get what that 32% of accuracy. Okay, that's a problem is associated with the what that mapping structure as well as that. Hello, is it okay? Clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's
okay. So we can say that what this mapping property or that mapping functionality has some problems. So that's why we will not get what the much accuracy with respect to that Malayalam. Okay, and so while we are going to find the similarity between the two sentences which are not similar, definitely we will get what the accuracy is very less as in the case of this example. Definitely it is 0.09 done in the case. So up to this is ILTK is very nice. I can say that in more or less in the case of the Hindi language as well as I will not go through that Kannada. I will not go through that case of the Oriya, but I go through what some of the text which is sentence related to the Kannada. It's more or less pretty good than we give that much accuracy than that Malayalam. And also in the case of the Tamil also it's working pretty good manner. Okay, and come to the point of Indic NLP library. And this is only this much installation is there. It's pip install Indic library. You can see that Indic NLP library is going to happen here. Fine. And we need to what and Anup Kujikutan. He is the author as well as he's a researcher in the case of an NLP, because from that Microsoft, who doing lot of research in the case of NLP, as well as contributing to that Indian language context, or contributing natural language libraries as well as resources to that Indian context. Okay, so from there we can say that he's the author corresponding for that he's the author of Indic NLP resources, or that library. A lot of papers has been published by him with respect to that Indic scripts. Okay, and also we need to download that repository also, and okay, set the path. For finding that path, we need to change that Indic library library home as well as resources home to this particular library. So we need to execute this case. It's common scenario which we have done in the case of what normal implementation purpose. And after that, we can say that what this Indic library, Indic tokenization is pretty good for the case of Tamil language. Okay, and the split the sentence as well as this is more or less same usage as well as in the case of the previous one. We can see that what the language has to be specified with the code, like what we have done in the case of INLTK. So the language HA is there, and here we can see that what this can be separated case. And here I am using that another sentence, Babu Kodungiya Malambara Mr. Kurumbachi. So you can see that what while we are executing, you can see that it's more or less in a good manner. Let me check that in the case of the previous example. We have tokenize that character. Actually, we get the tokenization as a character manner. So that's case. Okay, so you can see that this is pretty good than the INLTK. Okay, and if you want to transliterate a Unicode with respect to that two languages, that's case of from the transliterate from Hindi to Tamil or Tamil to Hindi, you can see that this is an example which I am doing that case of what input text is Rajasthan, and I want to transliterate from that input text. Actually, this transliteration is going to happen here. That means each and every character is mapped to what another Unicode in the case of another language. You can see that what the corresponding Hindi can be there. It's in a good manner to be there. Okay, and also okay, we know the same thing is there, and come to the point of what some of that NLP, and this is with respect to the phonetics. That means the input character is O, and the language in Hindi is we are giving that this, whether this is an vowel or this is a consonant or a velar or all this thing can be verified with respect to this Indic NLP, and we will get a Boolean expression corresponding for that each case. Okay. After my presentation, definitely I can share this file. Definitely, no problem. Okay, and I think one message is from that chat box. Okay, so not the chat bot. Okay. Now we move to that the third library, which is Stanza. Formerly we have called this as a Stanford library. NLP toolkit is there. This is a widely we are using the case of what for that natural language processing. So it's a collection of what accurate and efficient tools for what the linguistic analysis for many human languages, starting from the raw text and to what the syntactic analysis and entity recognitions. Stanza brings what the state of art of what NLP models to what the language of your choice, and this is available from the Stanford library. Okay, so This can be done as in the case of the previous. We can use what the PIP installations of the stanza, and this work in the for the, and also nowadays the multilingual support is available in the case of that new Stanford professor. So that's why we are using that Hindi itself. I will not try, but with respect to that Malayalam, we can change that scenario. Will we change? Let me check that case. So for the purpose of the stanza downloaded the Hindi, so okay, good. It's downloading. After that, we can try with the Malayalam. I think so. It's available. So this from the Hugging Face. I think it's Malayalam is available. Okay. So let me change the case. So no support Malayalam class. Wait, I'll check that case. No, Malayalam is not be available. I think so. So no. So no. Multilingual supports the 66 languages, but it still contains Malayalam. I think so. Okay, fine. So with respect to that Hindi language, we can see that what stands with respect to the pipeline concepts, as well as we can find the document associated with this case. You can see that there is an ID as well as associated with respect to that each character. You can see this tokenization, and this is the limitization of the previous text GZ, and you can see that what there is a this is a pronoun way, maybe this is the features with respect to the features. We can see that what number is seen and person is 3 and associated with the case, and you can see that what and each this is within the list. You can see that, or we can say that this is normally it's stored as a dictionary also. You can see that scenario, and convert that list into what the document part or the dictionary patterns. We can see use what the token after the tokenization. You can see what the doc to what dictionary. So dictionary is what the list of dictionary can represent the token on word of that each sentence. You can see that. So for that purpose, we can use that case, and after that, what we can retrieve that each case of the data. Okay, from that using the pipeline, you can see that what each corresponding for that each ID we can extract that tokenizations. Okay, and also okay, so this is pretty good work in the case of the Tamil also. Do we need to check the case? Fine. I think we all go through that three libraries which is associated with the with respect to that different Indic script Indian libraries. Okay. Clear? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Fine. So let me move to that the last portion of this maybe session, and that and so already we understand that what is natural language and what are the components associated with the natural language, and with respect to the Indian language, what are the challenges which you are facing in the case of what Indian language context, as well as what are the libraries mainly. Also, we are created a generic architecture with respect to this NLP in Indian context, as well as in the case of what NLP process for the different in perspective of different projects, and also we go through what the different libraries, and also the find that issues and compare make a small comparison with respect to what different uh, aspects of what different functionalities of that different libraries. Okay. And you can see that uh, let me the last topic maybe sometimes the people may interested in the case of what may ask about that what are the latest algorithms, or maybe interested in the case of what why we are producing a paper, or why we are finding a good solution for our problem. Definitely we go back with the respect to that, or we need to ping with the new algorithm, okay, which is available in the case of the all top algorithms or the pre-trained language models which are available in the case of what natural language processing. And first of all, in the case of natural language processing, we need to understand that
sir.